day, YouTube, and welcome to another episode of the Albino Beer Review. I did say we were going to do a live stream, and here it is, right? So today is my first day locked down. Today's my first day locked down here in Dorval, and I had put out a message in my last video saying, hey, can somebody buy some beers and drop them off at the hotel? I have money, I'll pay you. I just can't go anywhere, and I can't order anything. And somebody did, and one of the things he asked me to do was some top 10 lists, or top 5, or top 3, or however I wanted to do it. So and he asked about doing them stylistically too, and I'm going to do that. I might even do some brewery stuff and all that. So every night I do one of these, I might actually come through and do one of these. Now I put my list on my other phone, so when I do them, I'll be reading them. And if you're here, you're here. Tell me your thoughts. Tell me your ideas. So today we're going to be doing dark lagers, stouts, both imperial and non-imperial, porters, and then sours that are supposed to be not Belgian sours. But I've noticed through Untapped that some of the Belgian beers separated into regular sour styles instead of being in their Flanders and stuff like that. But hey, it is what it is, and we'll go through these, right? Yeah, we will. Okay, so first and foremost, dark lagers. First one is Jack Abbey. In the U.S., Jack Abbey's Jack's Evil Brew, which was a dark lager. That was brought to me by Average Joe, I do believe. I believe Average Joe brought it. I do not believe I bought it at Consumer Beverages. I do believe he brought it to me. And it was a solid dark lager. I love my dark lagers. I really do. So another one is Silversmith Black Lager. Silversmith Black Lager being like the quintessential Canadian just black lager. I mean, the beer has changed slightly over time as there's different brewers at Silversmith in Niagara-on-the-Lake, but it was always one of the best, just solid black lagers. Next we have, and this one's asterisked. I asterisked a few of them to talk a little bit more about them. And next we have Niagara College's Dark Magic, and the reason that's asterisked is you'll never get that beer again. Unless you find out where that student went and find out if he's actually making it at whatever brewery he went to. And unless he opened up his own brewery, he probably is not making it because most of these kids will go in as assistant brewers and stuff, and they're not usually given full range of the systems. So it was a student brew, and it was made a couple of years back, so it was made before they started putting the students' names on the beer. So I don't even know what student made it, but it was a fucking good beer. What else do we have in the dark lager? Actually, Tatamagouche Zero, which was a Czech amber, and red ales were counted in this. And it was a solid, damn good drinking little beer. I need to trim my mustache hair and I need to trim my nose hair, but all that stuff's in Nunavik, so I can't do it right now. So that's why I keep like almost doing the coke head nostril thumb. But yeah, so that was just a solid easy drinking beer that I could drink every single day. Fix Dark from Olympic Brewing in Greece. That was another beer that there was nothing. It didn't blow your socks off, but a black lager, a dark lager, an amber lager, none of those really should blow your socks off. You shouldn't drink them and go, wow, that tastes amazing. You should drink them and go, oh my lord, I could drink that all the time. And that beer from Fix was one of the ones that I did that. And that was brought back to me. I did get it again in an Amazing Clubs pack, but the original time I had Fix Dark, it was brought back to me by Tina, who worked with me, her and her husband, and she was Italian and he was Greek, and they would go back to Greece and Italy every summer, and they knew that I did the beer review, and they brought that stuff back for me, and thank you again, Tina. It meant a lot. It really did. Next, And this one is in brackets with asterisks as well to talk about it. And it's the last one in the dark lagers, and it is Forefathers Shevchenko number 9, which was a Ukrainian dark lager. Uh, so Forefathers has a very interesting story behind them. They did have an incident with John, who was one of the original forefathers. They were called Forefathers because it was four fathers that put the brewery together. And John was one of the original. He was an art professor at the University of Guelph, and he had in the building they bought for Forefathers to take its home in, which was a giant building. They actually had an art gallery for him there, and the brewery itself was almost canceled at one point. Video started surfacing of John beating one of his girlfriends with a stick, and she was a lot younger than him. She was on the ground, and he was walloping her. And then people thought that Forefathers wasn't doing what they had to do to separate themselves from him, because people would go into the brewery and John would be sitting there at the bar. And they're like, well, if John's sitting here at the bar, that means you're supporting him and you're okay with him being here. Not really. See, this is the thing, right? You're not looking at it the way it has to be looked at. This is a business that is owned by 4 different people. They all have a right to be in the building, whether you want to agree with them or not. And he also has his art venue there. They were trying to buy him out the whole time, and he was strong-arming them to get more money because he's like, I don't want to leave the business. And in the end, once they were able to get him out of the company, they were able to separate themselves from him and say, we don't agree with what he did, we don't support that, and he is no longer part of the company. But until that happened, they couldn't go public with anything, because if they did, he had recourse against them. So people were trying to cancel them. At the same time, they were trying to cancel him, because they didn't cancel him fast enough, because he had ownership shares. Now, the thing about Shevchenko number 9 is right now they are donating proceeds from Shevchenko number 9 to the Ukraine. And it's almost a porter. It's almost a porter, but it is lighter and airier. It is a dark lager, but it is very porter-esque in its flavor. And I think that's one of the reasons why I loved that beer so much. And just to see them handing out, and these guys are guys that would always hand out for charities. They had a month before the pandemic, they had a monthly beer that would be brewed, and they would have a party, and the money, the proceeds would go to the charity. Whenever they would come to the Albino Rhino Beer Festival, after I paid them out, they would take out their money to get there, their hotel money and the cost of their beer, and they would hand all their profits back to me to give to the Ronald McDonald House. Great guys, always trying to help their community. I'm sorry for what happened to them with John. And yeah. Next style shall we go to, right? What's next? Next, I guess I should delete these as I'm going, so I don't. Because if I don't delete them as I go, I'll probably reread them at some point. Okay, next we have Imperial Stouts. So first and foremost, we have Southern Tier's Creme Brulee. I have not had this in many, many years. I hear that now it is just very sugary sweet, but the original brewing of that beer did taste just like creme brulee, and they were in Lakewood, New York. At one point, they were available at the LCBO, and then they no longer were. And whenever I went to the U.S., I either had to buy them at Consumer Beverages in Buffalo, New York, or I had to buy them at Lakewood itself. What their actual distribution is, I'm not 100% sure, but it was a beer I loved. Bellwood's Bring Out Your Dead, very first cognac barrel-aged Imperial Stout I had ever had in my life. To my knowledge, it is still released once a year. And to my knowledge, there are still people that mule it and use it in beer trade circles. It is a great beer. It has faded a little bit in my flavor profile. I did give it a 10 out of 10, I do believe, or a 9.75 out of 10. The first time I had it, and the second time, and the third time, so year 3. And then it's just, I don't know if my palate was changing or if the beer was because of the hype and them making more and more of it, if it was just slightly degrading, or maybe some barrels were being used too often, or some barrels just weren't as flavorful as others. But things did start changing a little bit. Bring Out Your Dead was one of the beers that made me go, oh my god, the hype is real. And I mean, even though they're not on this list, they had a lot of other imperial stouts that were very, very good as well. But Bring Out Your Dead still holds a very, very special place in my heart. Also, thinking about the Bring Out Your Dead in Monty Python. But hey, whatever. Sawdust Cities. Both the Blood of Cthulhu, which is an amazing beer, and the Bloody Long Voyage to Uranus. And one of the reasons I love that beer is just the name, A Bloody Long Voyage to Uranus. I'll give you A Bloody Long Voyage to... No, it was a raspberry variant of Bloody Long Voyage to Uranus, which was a great Long Voyage to Uranus. And so the bloody part was the raspberries. And the raspberries just made that beer. The original was really good. And I remember Sam was working at Niagara College as one of the teachers at the time when he brought it up to me the first time I walked in to talk to John Damming, the head professor of the brewing program. And while I was in his office talking to him, Sam just came up to me, tapped me on the shoulder, and handed me a little sample glass. And I took it and I go, oh my god, that's good. What's that? And he goes, that's my Long Dark Voyage to Uranus. Like, the name makes this beer amazing. And then he came out with the Bloody Long Dark Voyage to Uranus. And that beer was spectacular. And still is to this day. And Blood of Cthulhu is very similar to it in that it is also a berry flavored imperial stout. What else do we have on here? This one most people will not think should be on here, but I loved it, and that was Innocent Gun Vanishing Point number 5. Originally, I would say Innocent Gun's Irish Cask Stout was spectacular, and it was a 10 out of 10 beer. But as time went on, that beer did fade and dwindle and not have the same amount of amazingness to it. However, Innocent Gun and their Vanishing Point number 5 was a spectacular beer, and if I ever walk across it again, I will be sure to buy it. Hell, I will buy Vanishing Point number 6, 7, 8, 9 just to try them. On top of that, you can also add in the Harvest Tunes, Ola Dove. They're 21 year, they're 14 year, they're 15. All the Ola Doves, except for the very lowest, I think it was 8, are very, 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 very good imperial stouts. Next on this list, we have from Nickelbrook, the Bastard series, and I see somebody's writing here. We will read that after this. After we finish this one thing in the Imperial Stouts, I'll read what was just written there. The Bastard series from Nickelbrook, and by that, you have Café del Bastardo, which was the coffee Bolshevik Bastard in a barrel. You had Bolshevik Bastard itself. You had Whiny Bastard. You had what was it? Whiny, Bolshevik. There was another one, wasn't there? Cafe. Did I have it on the list, or did I just put in Bolshevik? I put in Bolshevik, Whiny. Oh, Kentucky Bastard. Do they even make Kentucky Bastard still? And I mean, you can also throw in Goose Island's Bourbon County Bourbon Stout, or Founders KBS and stuff like that, or Founders CBS. But I'm not going to put those in here because you know what? Those are so much hype and so many people talk about them anyway that you don't need to hear me talk about them. Tooth and Nail Fortissimo. I just had that this week. Oh my god, was that beer good. So let's see what's going on comment-wise. Sorry, I'm blind. You gotta come up to me. Oh, Coach and Porter, my most missed. It bombed in its last release with its strong... Okay. Robert, what do we have? How far away did you move from your crew for tasting drinking? I missed the Guinness Gauntlet. Robert, if you were to open up Google Maps right now and look for Puvernatuck, Quebec. P-U-V-I-R-N, P-U-V-I-R-N-I-T-U-Q. That'll show you where I am, and it's close to the tip of the Hudson Bay, so very far. Roads go to LeGrand. To drive from Niagara Falls to LeGrand would take about 36 hours, and then you have to fly the rest of the way. There is no more roads. And every time I've gone out of the Arctic, since moving up there, no one in the crew really wants to get together. So it just doesn't happen. Okay, next we have stouts that are non-imperial. So non-imperial stouts. Tooth and Nail's Fortitude. Again, a beer I just had for the first time, and the Fortitude I had, I must give the caveat that I didn't have just the regular Fortitude. I had the 2020 variant on cask. And my God, was it good. It really was. I can't say enough. That was an amazing beer. The review will be up sometime in the next couple of weeks, most likely, because I don't have a lot of beer reviews to get in front of it, and as you guys know, I try to do 2 a day. I do the oldest one on my phone and the newest one on my phone, so sooner than later the ones from Tooth and Nail will get there. The first one from Beyond the Pale came up recently, and I think we only did 3 or 4 at Beyond the Pale before we moved on to Tooth and Nail. 13 Barrels from Nova Scotia. They're Wild Goose, and I put that on there because it was an amazing standard stout, something that a lot of breweries don't do very well. I find that a lot of places can't do unflavored stouts anymore. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's changed, but you used to be able to get a whole bunch of amazing non-flavored stouts, and now it's just a lot less often. Sorry, I just got some boogers in the back of my throat there. Out of BC, Cannery, and I always want to call them Canary, but it's Cannery, their Heist Maple Stout. Oh my God, that tasted like those maple cookies you can get up here in Canada. You know, the maple leaves with the maple cream? Just like that. And I mean, I don't love those cookies, but I love that beer. I don't know why. It is what it is. Blood Brothers. They make a lot of great stouts like Unify or Die, which was a coffee stout. I didn't put Unify or Die on here, even though I had given it the same ranking as this beer. But this beer I did think was a little better because it is a white stout that still has all the stout notes. And that was the Raspberry Guilty Remnants. And Blood Brothers is in Toronto. They will deliver. Their beers do rotate. They usually have a whole bunch of different Paradise Lost beers. They usually have a whole bunch of different Guilty Remnants, and then they have a bunch of barrel-aged stuff. They do a lot of really good IPAs, even though their IPAs are not IPAs I love, but it is what it is. Oshlag, from here in Quebec, Oshlag Stout Blanc, so a white stout. One of the best white stouts I've ever had. Actually, slightly better than Undercover Brother from the collab between Brothers Brewing, and not Blood Brothers, but Brothers Brewing and Brimstone Brewing in Ridgeway. And 2 more on this list here. We have Archibald's Irish Nitro Stout. And I mean, it's just your standard nitro stout. It is a cobblestone stout or a Guinness or a I can't even remember it now. O'Hare's. The O'Hare's Irish Stout that's on nitro. It's like all those, but it actually has more flavor and it has a little less of the nitrogen in there, so it comes off with a little tiny bit of carbonation feel with that creaminess, and I think it makes that beer very, very, very good. And lastly on this list, and I put it on here because this brewery does not exist anymore, and I gave the beer a 10 out of 10, and it's like the only beer from the brewery I ever gave over like a 5. Trafalgar Ale and Meads Schwartzy Espresso. Now, for those of you that don't know Trafalgar Ales and Meads, Mike Arnold did not care to deal with his customers. His customers could tell him problems with his beers, and he'd be like, well, fuck you, don't buy my beer. And for a very long time, I did the fuck you, I'm not buying your beer. And then one day I think it was Guy. Guy was visiting, and we were doing a brew. Guy and Nick were visiting. Nick from Maxwell Stars Beer Reviews in New Brunswick. They were down visiting, and it was before one of the beer festivals, and we went in there just because they wanted to go in, and they wanted. At that point, they were making mead and moonshine as well because they had a distilling license. And we went in, and Michael Arnold's son was working, and he had just taken over all the marketing and all that. And he goes, Chad, you hate our beers, but I have some stuff I want you to try. It's our black label stuff. It's our special stuff that we're giving this new brewer a time to brew, and he's making these special beers. Can you try it? I'm like, sure. And he brings up the black label stuff, and there's like 6 different beers, and they were all done the same way. Part of their problem was infections in the beer, a lot of oxidization and stuff, because they would use a home brewing beer wand to fill their beers and then cap it, and that's why they were having a lot of trouble with their bottles. But he gives them to me, and we go home, and we're reviewing them, and none of them really stood out until we got to the Schwartzy Espresso. And oh my god, I can't say enough about that beer. Then they sold the brewery, and they sold it to All or Nothing, which used to be Underdog Brewing, and Underdog Brewing had to change their name because of a cease and desist copyright claim from Broadside Brewing, because Broadhead used Underdog as their slogan, so they had to change their name, and they became All or Nothing. Then they bought the licenses and the recipes from Michael Arnold. Then they moved the equipment into Oshawa, and mum's the word, right? There's a lot of comments here, so let's see what they're going before we go on to porters. You and the Rev kicked ass on reviews, well, thank you. I loved doing stuff with the Rev. The last time I was in Welland for 5 weeks. The Rev lives in Welland. The Rev wasn't working. I'm like, hey, Rev, let's get together and do something in these 5 weeks. You tell me a date and time, we'll do them. Nothing happened. Most of my friends from the Niagara region, I should say, have moved on to a point where we're just at different places in our life. And I mean, even me with the beer review, I'm at a different place in my life. I don't use the beer review for the same reason I used to use the beer review, which was to get away from the relationship I was in and to get away from the reality of my life. Now I just do it for fun and here and there, which is why there's no more editing or anything like that. So sometimes that's not as great. Anything nitro is amazing. Usually, yeah. You and the Rev were awesome. Hi. Good day, Eric. And Jamie, the reason I don't brew my own beer is there's a lot of reasons. One, alcohol is controlled in PUV. You can only buy so much, and you can only buy from one place. 2, the expense. In the Arctic, things are not cheap. You have to fly everything there. It's very expensive to fly things there. Let's take a movie, for example. Okay, a movie bought from Amazon. Amazon does this. This is the way Amazon sets up their pricing, because it's the only way they can actually keep their pricing well once you get to a bigger item. $29.99 is the base shipping cost to Bavurnatuk from Amazon. Then you add $9.99 per pound. If you are shipping via the airline, you're looking at about $7 a pound. So getting a 50-kilo bag of malt up there, yeah, it's not happening. And alcohol's controlled for reasons that we won't get into on this feed. But again, we talk about oppression a lot. People have been talking about oppression for a long time. I think people need to move up to the Arctic and see what oppression is, because you ain't got the right to do many things. Okay, so porters are next. porters are next, and I did see there was another comment that came up, so we will get to that after we're done porters. And then we'll do sours, and then we can talk about whatever you want to talk about, other than why alcohol is controlled, because that's not something that's going to be talked about publicly, at least not while I work with the company I work with. Okay. So, first and foremost, and this is one that is asterisked because it doesn't exist currently, Knowledge's Porter from Niagara College. Knowledge's Porter was another student brew of a porter, and it was the best. I repeat, best. I repeat, best standard porter I have ever had in my life. It was perfect. It was perfect in all ways. Actually, that beer won the scholarship that year, and the scholarship was for the graduating student. Whenever they would do their project brew, the graduating student that won best in show would basically get their education paid for. Now, their education had already been paid for because they're at the last of their semester, but here's the money that would have paid for your education. And that's great and all that. And Knowledge's Porter won. I don't know where that brewer went. I don't know what they're doing. However, I did drink Steadfast from Tooth and Nail while I was in Ottawa this past week. And Steadfast was by far the closest thing I've ever had to Knowledge's Porter. I do not know if it's the same brewer. I didn't ask, but just putting that out there. Next beer on that list would be my buddy Kyle's beer, and I'm really sad that he has left Cameron's. I'm glad that he's doing his own thing and starting up breweries for people and building them for them. But his beer, Obsidian, was fucking spectacular. So Obsidian was an imperial porter aged in rum barrels. And every time I would go to Cameron's, I would buy some Obsidian. And I went one time, and I'm like, I'm looking to get some Obsidian. And Kyle's like, I can't sell you any. I go, what do you mean? He goes, we're out. What are you talking about? You're out. You have 2 skids of it right there. I can see it from this door. And they were getting shipped to Spain. The beer had such a hype after a lot of us fell in love with it that it was going to Spain. That's amazing. And it was an amazing beer. And I wish it still existed. And even if they wanted to brew it right now, I don't know if they would do it just as well, because Kyle is no longer there. He no longer brews. He now designs and builds. 3 more on this list here. Harvey Estoon's Old Engine Oil. Harvey Estoon is out of Scotland, and they do a lot of great dark beers, and they even do an old engine oil. It's called like Engineer's Reserve, and their beers are spectacular. If you ever get a chance to try them, try them. Even their IPAs, if you can find one of their IPAs at the LCBO, you know it's aged. You know it's gone through the LCBO aging criteria of neglect, but it is a European IPA, so it doesn't fade with age as much as a lot of the ones that we drink over here do. It's a great beer. It really is. And then last 2, Clifford Brewing Company of Hamilton, Ontario. Clifford Porter. It's another just standard porter. And I mean, there was a lot of flavored porters I could put in here. There was a lot of coffee porters and everything else. But I'm like, you know what? As good as they are, they're not beers I'm going to drink every day, all day. I could drink a Clifford Porter 35 times in a day and be like, hey, Clifford. Well, Brad Clifford. Hey, Brad, give me another Clifford Ale. Give me another porter. Sell me another one. Give me another one. Sell me another one. Give me another one. Put it in my fucking veins via IV. I'm being quiet because this is the only hotel room I've seen in a very long time that has the door to the other room that somebody's in. So I'm trying to be quiet. They have their door closed too, but I'm probably annoying them. It is what it is, right? And lastly, this one is 2 beers because I do believe they are the same beer. They tell me they're not, but they're so similar, even in ABV, that I'm sure they're the same beer with a different name. And if not, they're the same beer with a slightly different recipe. And that is Beau's Brewing Company in Van Cleek Hill, Ontario, which is very close to the Quebec border. their Burnt Rock Vanilla Porter and their Porter Vanilla Porter. The Burnt Rock was amazing the first time I had it, and it kind of faded every time I had it after that. And then I'm up in Nunavik, and I make an order with Marche Turin, and I'm like, hey, what do you guys have new craft-wise? And they're like, well, we have this beer from Ontario. It's a brewery we know you've reviewed from. It's called Bose. It's called Porter. I'm like, Porter. Okay, send me 2 Porters. And I reviewed the Porter, and I was like, oh my fucking god, I'm going to drink the other Porter right now, and I wish I had more. And I do wish I had more. And when I came down to Ontario this time around, I bought more Porter because you can't get vanilla rock the burnt rock vanilla porter anymore. And but I do think that they are very similar beers. They may even be the same beers with a different name. And if they're not the same beer, the recipe has not changed all that much. We'll get on to your comments, and then we'll go on to the last top beer for tonight. And then I got to do my homework on my other styles. And thank you very much, Harry. I'm drinking Lacaster's Oatmeal Stout right now. Okay. Sorry, you get to look at my morphia. My more albino than albino. I could try and bring you to this eye, but this eye doesn't see as well as this eye. Okay, what do we got going on? That grist stout, yummy. Yeah, the grist stout is very yummy. Any chance of getting back with your buds in Quebec? I don't have any buds in Quebec. No buds in Quebec. Holy fuck, look at how big this and poofy this mustache is getting. And no, nobody's going up to the Arctic with me. When my family came down for their vacation this last week, it was a $22,000 round trip for the 5 of us. Luckily, that's paid for by my company, but nobody's paying $5,000 round trip to come up and drink a few beers with me. And nobody wants to come up and buy a $68 12-pack of Budweiser to drink with me. Good day, True. Big fan since the Niagara basement days. Thank you. Still talk to the crew? Some of them. Where can I send you beers from Pennsylvania? How do I send beers to the Arctic? I'd love to see it happen. I don't know if you would be able to. It's hard enough to get them across the Canadian border and then to get them up to the Arctic. Because, again, alcohol is very controlled up there. And there is one more comment. So, Jamie, I'll do this quick question since I've only been following you for the past couple of years. Have you taken in years in doing beer reviews on YouTube? Have you taken a break? Yes and no. When I first got divorced from when my ex-wife first left me with the kids, I stopped doing everything for a while. And it was months before I got back to anything. Other than that, the biggest break I've taken is mostly getting, no more editing or anything. I just do it on the phone, upload it, because now I have a life that I want to spend more time in instead of trying to escape it. Also, there's not really all that much reason to put a lot of time and effort into the videos of a beer guy. I have thousands upon thousands of subscribers. I might get 10 views in most videos. So what is the real reason to put a whole bunch of time into a video? It's not like you make much money in BeerTube. We're not reacting to music. We're not reacting to videos. We're not Ray William Johnson or anything like that. We're just guys that drink beer. Maybe $100 a year, if that. So there was no real reason to sink a lot of my time, especially now I have 3 of my 5 kids in the Arctic with me. When I get out, I want to spend time with my family as well as spend time doing stuff for this channel, as well as seeing friends and everything. Now, back to Robert there with the beer to the Arctic. excuse me, I would be scared to see the cost for you to ship one beer in a box from Pennsylvania to the Arctic. I would be insanely afraid to see that. We shipped a parka. Parka weighs like 2 pounds, and it was in a little box. We shipped a parka from the Arctic to the south to give to my daughter when we got down there because we just couldn't fit in our luggage. It cost me $125 to ship it down. What I normally do when I'm shipping things is I buy the Canada Post flat rate boxes, and the flat rate boxes come in 3 sizes, and as long as it fits inside that box and it weighs less than 11 pounds, it ships anywhere in the country for a flat rate. The small box is $25, the medium box is $30, the big box is $35. There's no way of getting 11 pounds into the Arctic for $35, so I buy that all the time, and that's what I send stuff up in. But yeah, so you can only buy beer. You used to be able to buy wine and liquor as well, but our community only sells beer. The co-op sells beer Monday to Friday. You can go in and buy a 12-pack from Monday to Friday. What they carry as their 12-packs rotate, but the ones that I like to bring up to people, Molson Dry, $75 a 12-pack. Budweiser, $65 a 12-pack. Rickards Red, $85 a 12-pack. And we're talking the 344 milliliter cans here. Which is funny because Rickards Red actually costs the same amount as Molson Dry. So what they're doing is just artificially inflating the price so they can make more money, which is illegal in Quebec. But who's coming up to find out, right? And lastly, then you can get the 473 milliliter bottles of Alexander Keith's for $105. So you can buy those from Monday to Friday, 1 case a day. Then once a week, you can order a 24-pack from Marché Turenne. Marché Turenne is a grocery store in Dorval, Quebec, and they actually have to tack on extra fees. They tack on $5 to deliver the beer to the airport, and they have to tack on a $10 administration fee that is paid to the northern village of Pavernatuk. So there's $15 extra on top of that. Those 2 cases of, let's say, Bud. Those 2 cases of Bud with the extra $15 still cost less than what the co-op is charging me for them. And again, the co-op isn't allowed to artificially inflate prices, but they do because who's coming up to check? And that's all. To the point where if you're bootlegging, you can sell a 12-pack of beer for $20 a can. You can sell a Mickey of vodka for $200 a Mickey, and a Mickey would be a 13-ouncer for you Americans, or like something like 200 milliliters, 250, somewhere in there. No, 375, I believe, 375. So that's why you don't brew beer up there, and that's why it's really hard to get anything up there. Food is insane, and I mean, you buy a bag of chips, you're looking at $10 a bag of chips. That being said, if you're buying something healthier, but at least in Nunavut, regardless of whether you're buying healthy or not, it's expensive because they don't have the KRG subsidy. They only have Nutrition North. But with Nutrition North and the KRG, things like milk, about the same prices in the South. Diapers and baby formula, actually a couple dollars cheaper than the South. But chips, $10 a bag. A can of pop, $4 a can, right? Like, okay, so sours. Sours are next. I don't know if there was any more comments, but we'll get on to the sours next. So this one I was trying to look at non-Belgian sours, but I still have a Belgian sour on here because it was slipped into the non-Belgian sour categories. And first and foremost, we have Half Hours on Earth Totally. And Totally was a raspberry sour. It was the first beer I'd ever had by Half Hours on Earth. It was a 10 out of 10 beer. Every single time he had made Totally, every time Kyle made Totally, I bought a can of Totally. Half Hours on Earth does not exist anymore. They were in, where were they? Oh, Bath, Ontario, I think. It was up in the London area. But they were in an old creamery, and you would go into that building and it fucking stank, but the beers he made were amazing. Spark Beer in Ottawa. Spark Beer's Voices Carry Berry. Just had that this week. It was an amazing beer as well. It looked great. It tasted great. I was talking to Harry when he dropped his stuff off today, and like, look, we ended up there. It was a hole in the wall. It actually looks like it was an old Chinese takeout place. It has like the red subway tiles on the outside, the exterior facade. Their website sucks. It's a hole in the wall that we almost missed twice trying to find. The beer is amazing. It really is. It's a great place for beer. And they do a lot of sours, and they had a lot of standard offerings. I didn't have a lot of the standard offerings. I did a lot of the sours because I hadn't had sours at the other two, really. I had standard offerings. I'm like, you know what? Let's do some sours now. But that's one that stood out. So give it its props, right? Next, we have Brimstone's Zen. And Brimstone's Zen, Zach saved Brimstone. I know when Brimstone opened, Jason and his buddy, and I'm not gonna name his buddy because then he's gonna get mad at me because he's actually called me a few times on a few of the things I've said in the past, but his buddy became the brewmaster. And I remember going in one time and he's like, does this taste off to you? And he handed me a beer and I'm drinking it. I'm like, yeah, what's wrong with that? Why does it have so much phenols in it and stuff? And he's like, I think I melted rubber in it. And he picked up his inverted heater because that's back when they were still using the half barrel system that they were doing with natural gas. And I'm like, did you really just fucking feed me melted vulcanized rubber? He's like, yeah. And then I remember one time I was there and Zach had started working and he called me to ask me how Zach was doing. He's like, how's Zach making my beers? And I go, oh, your beers have gotten 10 times better since you left and Zach's been doing it. And there was another time he called and I was there at a concert and Jason came upstairs because Jason was on the phone with him. He came upstairs and he goes, Chad, can you try this? Try it. And I go, okay. He goes, anything wrong with it? I go, not really. You're starting to get a little bit of oxidization. The keg must be getting old. He goes, okay, yeah, that's what I thought. He goes, how about this one? Try that one. He goes, anything wrong with that one? I go, no. He goes, no oxidization in that one? I go, no, why? He goes, well, because Bleep just called and told me that he tried the beers and they're all garbage and I should fire Zach. Zach saved that brewery, and Zen was a great beer. Zen still is a great beer. Anytime I'm in town, if they have Zen there, I am buying it. I am drinking it. I am enjoying it. Zen brings me to a Zen place. Back to the list. Kex Brewing, Millions of Peaches. Now, the only time I've had Kex Brewing beers was at Collective Arts in Hamilton, Ontario, at their beer festival. And I forget what they even named their beer festival. It was something odd, but that beer festival brought breweries from around the globe. And what they did was they brought the breweries there. The breweries brought beers with them. They served the beers at the festival, and then they stayed to do collaboration brews or contract brews at the brewery so they could get their beers out into the Ontario market without paying the excise fees to bring them in. What else do we got on here? Another one from Niagara College, Tim M., who went to Barnstormer for a bit and then moved again. He's been jumping from place to place. And it was his, what was it there? Ich bin on Berliner. So it is a Berliner. Amazing Berliner Weiss. And he had that at the Project Brew. And he amazingly served it the way it should be served. He had his Berliner Weiss and he would serve it to you either naturally or with Berliner with Woodruff syrup in it, or he also had blackberry Woodruff syrup that he would put in it. And it with the blackberry was to die for. It with the regular Woodruff syrup was okay, and it without anything was also to die for. Beautiful sour beer, beautiful graininess, beautiful breadiness, beautiful everything. Like that was it was a great beer. I wish he was still making it now because it really, really was a solid beer. But hopefully he never makes it at a brewery that he doesn't own because you don't want to give away your recipes. What else do we have on here? Okay, Nickelbrook's Raspberry Uber. Now, Nickelbrook had two that I could have used. I could have used the Raspberry Uber, which is still in production every once in a while, or I could have used the Unique Sour Cherry. The Unique Sour Cherry was probably one of my first 10 out of 10 beers. It was to die for, but he stopped making that pretty damn quickly, unfortunately, because it was an amazing beer. He never should have stopped making it. Raspberry Uber, I love it. My wife loves it. Everybody I've brought it to has loved it. It is a great beer. It is sour. It is raspberries. It is everything you'd kind of want. Um, there's two more on this list, I do believe. Two more. Three more. Okay. Four more. Four more. Okay, so next is Black Swan's Raspberry Wild Child. And I think you're seeing a theme here. When it comes to sour beers, I like fruited sours, and raspberries make a great fruit for a sour beer. They also make a regular Wild Child, which is a really good beer too, but the raspberries just kick that beer up a notch. Black Swan does still make the stuff. They are now canning it. Originally, you had to go and buy it just right there. Um, but they do can it. I don't know if they ship, but I know that they do can. So if you ever are in the vicinity of Black Swan, you can go in and get one. They also had made up a homemade nitro system that they were using for a very long time. Four Winds in BC would be next, and that's Nectarius, Nectarius, which I bring up quite often. It was my first foray into a sour IPA, and my God, is it good. I don't think you can get it anywhere but in BC. I don't even know if you can get it anywhere other than Four Winds itself. But it is an amazing beer. Dan Painkiller sent that to me. Um, I can't even tell you what his channel's name is right now because he's changed the name of his channel so many times. But Dan, it was a great guy. We used to do a lot of beer trades, and he would send me stuff from both Alberta, where he was living, and Vancouver, where his family lived. And that was one of the ones he sent me that will never leave my mind. And last but not least on my top beers for these styles, and I'm not going to say this name right at all, Brouwerij Verbeage Duchess de Bourgogne. And Duchess de Bourgogne is the Belgian beer that I said was going to be on this list that I was trying to stay away from, but it was just in the other sours, not in any of Belgium sour categories. Great beer. If you've never had it, it's kind of like a Flanders Red, but a little sweeter, and it's just a solid, beautiful beer. And it has the Duchess on the front of it, and she's looking as nasty and old as ever. But the beer itself is not as nasty and old as she is. It is a beautiful, beautiful beer. I'll get to the next set of comments. Sorry, somebody is Facebook messaging me. I do apologize. I will get to the comments. Please tell me what styles I should do next. Harry's not here to tell me, I do not believe. So give me 3 or 4 styles to do next. I don't know. Maybe I'll do lagers. Maybe I'll do wheat beers. I don't know what I'll do next. Was this interesting to you at all? I mean, I know. Oh wait, I did miss one. I did miss one from Brasseur de Grand Bois Hully Gully, and Hully Gully was an amazing beer from Quebec that I had, and it reminded me very, very. It actually was very akin to Nectarius. So if you've never had Nectarius and you don't think you can ever get Nectarius and you're living in Quebec, if you can find Le Grand Bois Hully Gully, you basically tried Nectarius. Nectarius had a little bit more of a nectarine flavor to it, but beautiful beer, beautiful, 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 beautiful beer. I don't even know if anyone's still watching. I know there were some comments that I gotta get to. Let's finish this beer. And now, Rhino close to my face. Okay. What do we got going on here? Are you still with the girlfriend? Okay, sorry. Here we go. Are you still with the girlfriend? I'm married again, so possibly. I don't know which girlfriend it is that you know of there. I'd love to send you local beers such as Lion's Head, Rolling Rock, SBC. Rolling Rock is a beer that we had in Ontario for a very long time when I was there. One day the videos will gain traction. No, they won't. Is Standard Post cheaper than Amazon? Slightly. But again, if I'm doing Standard Post, I would do the flat rate boxes, and then I would make sure to get 11 pounds in them because it makes it worthwhile. Excuse me. You guys have a whole system in the Arctic, court, police, etc. Nunavik is technically part of Quebec. It is the Inuit of Quebec who have signed the James Bay Accord, and they run they're partially self-governed, but they're not fully self-governed. They do still have to follow Quebec laws. So yes, there is DYP, there is court, there is the KRPF, which is the Kativik Regional Police Department. There is the KRG, which is the Kativik Regional Government. There is the Nunavik Regional Nunavik Regional Board of Health and Social Services. And then there is also Quebec stuff, like Quebec sends up the SQ, so the Special Forces Police, like the OPP. In Nunavut's completely self-governed. They have everything as well, but it's all governed through Nunavut, and their police are RCMP, and there isn't RCMP in every town in Nunavut. In Nunavik, there is. Also, Nunavut doesn't have a school in every community. Nunavik has to have a school that goes up to grade 12 in every community because it is part of Quebec. What do we got? Thought you weren't getting dressed for 10 days. You know what, honey? I love you. I had to get dressed to go on video. Nobody wants to see my man titties. Are the high prices reflective of the salaries in the Arctic? Dependent on your job, but usually not. If you're in Nunavut, you do usually get, with most jobs, you'll get a Arctic allowance, a living allowance. In Nunavik, you don't normally. It's other benefits that make it worthwhile. Seaforth, yes, you are right. High prices, not height prices. Hi, Jacinda. My nose is bleeding and I'm drinking Amsterdam. Stop your nosebleed. Sorry, my eyes are getting worse as I'm getting older. What do we have here? Jordy's Den, you're awesome. I don't know if you remember me. You'd have to give me a little bit of help, right? I'm getting old. I've hurt my head a lot of times. Cheers back at you. Cheers, guy, right back at you. Where do you get the beers from? Some of them I picked up in Ottawa, and some of them Harry dropped off for me. I put out a call. I was like, hey, things have happened. Because, Alicia, you're my wife, okay? Shut up. He asked if I was still with the girlfriend. He didn't know I was married. You're my wife. I've loved you since high school. You're in the Arctic. I'm here in Dorval. I'm stuck here. You're up there. Stop being mean. So, what the hell was the question now? Sorry, I put you back now. I gotta look at the question again because my wife is my wife. Yeah, if your nose is bleeding, you really should stop that. So anyway, yeah. So I don't know if I have any viewers in Montreal, but I have a $50 bill I can't use. Anyone able to go and pick me up some beer and drop it off at the hotel, knock on the door, I'll slide the money under the door. So what happened was back in, if you didn't see it, back in January 17th, we got sick with COVID. And in our town, there was an outbreak of COVID, and they weren't testing anyone that didn't travel up from Montreal. So we went out and we're like, we need to be tested. We have COVID. They're like, well, we can't test you unless you're traveling from Montreal. Well, we're not traveling from Montreal, but we need to have this on file that we have this. So can we get tested? No, you can't. And then we get down here and they're talking to, we're filling out our NTFAA or whatever. It's the Nunavik travelers thing to get back, the acceptance to get back into Nunavik. And one of the things you have to do is get a negative PCR test. If you've had a positive, if you've been COVID positive, you can carry virus load for up to 90 days. We're within those 90 days. They're talking to us about that, and we're like, well, we had it in January. Well, did you get it tested? No, you told us we couldn't get it tested because you didn't want the numbers inflating. You were only testing people from Montreal. Well, if you didn't get tested, you're going to test positive, and then you're not able to fly back. Okay, let's hope it's out of our systems. We go to test Friday, Saturday, we find out it's out of everybody's system but mine. So I'm not actually ill. I am negative on every rapid test you do, but I am still carrying virus load from original illness back in January, and because of that, I have to quarantine for 10 days. So I'm stuck in this little fucking room for the next 10 days, like twiddling my thumbs. And I did say I wasn't going to get dressed the entire time, but people just keep knocking on the door. Like the cleaning ladies are trying to get in and stuff. I'm like, I can't let you in. Get the fuck away from my room. I know I'm not contagious. I know there's not, but I don't need public health to freak out on me about anything, right? I'm just following the rules. I just want to go home. I want to see my wife. I want to see my kids. I want to play in the snow. No, I don't want to play in the snow. So next we have St. Ambrose Pale Ale. St. Ambrose Pale Ale. So what does anyone want to talk about here? We've got a few minutes. Anyone have a topic? Something they want to chat about? Honey, I do check my messages. Don't worry. That's why I said we only have a few more minutes, then we're gonna do our things. And please don't kill my son. Please don't. Ugh. A few newish breweries I would like to visit. Ooh. So when we were in Ottawa, we were going to go visit Overflow Brewing, and I heard a lot of good things about Overflow Brewing, so I was really excited to go and try some Overflow Brewing. Overflow Brewing is out in the middle of nowhere out by the airport in Ottawa. So we were doing our brewery crawl, and we hit Beyond the Pale, and then we hit Tooth and Nail, and then we hit Spark, and then we went out to Overflow. We were going to go to Flora Hall, but Guy was like, you know what, they don't have a lot of beers, and they have like 3 or 4, so let's just go to Overflow. They have like 12. Okay. Get out of the cab. The place looks jam-packed. So we go in. Do you have tickets? Tickets for what? Oh, it's a private event tonight. No, we don't. Good thing we're in the middle of nowhere. Find an Irish pub up the street. So we go up the street, we sit down, I'm looking at their Facebook site and all that. They do announce that they had a private event, but they announced it like an hour before the private event. Private event started at 5:30. They announced at 4:30 they were closing for a private event when they're in the middle of nowhere. Fuck you! I don't care to try your beer anymore. Like, just if you're gonna close, you're gonna close. I don't care, but you need to let people know. So we're out already. We're making our plans and all that. We're out already. We go there. You're closed for a private event because you decided to tell people in 60 minutes that you were closing. Some people in Ottawa would take 60 minutes to get to you. Like, whoa. Places I'd like to visit. Well, I got Tooth and Nail off now. I've always wanted to try Tooth and Nail's beers. Grey Matter. I'm told Grey Matter is really good. I have tried the beers there, but no, not from Grey Matter. I was thinking of another brewery there while I was talking. I was just kind of daydreaming, thinking about it. You know where I really want to go to? I want to get to Cartwright Springs Brewing Company. Cartwright Springs Brewing Company is where me and my wife are actually from. It is in Pakenham. We're Arnprior, well, Braeside and Arnprior, but Pakenham is part of that. I want to go there because I have peed in the Cartwright Spring, and they're talking about how they make their beer from the beautiful, fresh Cartwright waters. So I want to go drink my own pee, basically. No, but I'd like to go there because it is in like a big metal. It's in one of the big steel dome type of garages and stuff. So I'd love to try that. Blackburn in Niagara Falls. I've tried a lot of their beer because Brian sends it to me, but I haven't been there, and I hear it's a beautiful big building that I would fall in love with. So I'd love to go and see it. The thing is, I don't know a lot of breweries outside of Ontario, and I don't even live in Ontario anymore. And even then, because I can't get anything unless Brian can get it, I haven't been in the loop as much as I used to be. Stray Dog, I'd like to try Stray Dog. I'd like to see Stray Dog. I'd love to see Small Pony Barrel Works in Ottawa as well. Beyond the Pale, their new location was amazing. Compared to their old location, at least. Across the street from the Heartland Forest? Really? It's across the street from the Heartland? See, I don't know anything about where it is or anything. I just know that it's a building. Do my kids need to learn French? No, because of where they are, there's a French stream and an English stream. In the French stream, you do not learn English. In the English stream, you do not learn French. Your second language for both of them is Inuktitut. So my kids are learning Inuktitut. My youngest daughter is 3. She turns 4 soon. She learns Inuktitut in her daycare as well. So she'll come home and she's close to fluent in it. Like, she talks to us all the time, and you're like, what did you just say? And then she'll say something, and Braith starts laughing. And we're like, why are you laughing, Braith? And she goes, she just told you she's not telling you what she said. So she says something to us in Inuktitut. She yells it at us and gives us this glare. And we're like, what did you say? And then she says in Inuktitut she's not telling us what she said. So, great that they're learning a new language. Great that they're learning a new culture. I'm going to beat that little child. No, I won't. Yeah, so, they don't learn French. Also, school is behind. So my son is in grade 5. Schoolwork is probably grade 2 or grade 3 in grade 5. So we do have the Canadian curriculum at home, and we do a lot of extra work with him. He's also special needs. He's on the spectrum, so we're trying to catch him up to where he should be, because when he lived in the South, he didn't participate in things. He didn't care to participate in things. So we try our best to better him as much as we can. Alicia, you should have made him come out of bed. That'd be on you, girl. Not fully, but it's gonna happen, and I'm gonna have to listen to it while I'm down here. I'm really not looking forward to 9 more days of this, to be honest. I wasn't looking forward to 1 day of this. I wanted to go home. I haven't slept in 11 days now. I can't sleep when I'm not in my bed. And here's the best part. My wife has told me now in this chat that she is sleeping on my side of the bed tonight. I have asked her to switch sides of the bed for 1.5 years because I like her side better. She has refused. Now when I'm not there to sleep in the side of the bed I want to sleep in, she's sleeping on my side. It's my afro pick. I don't know where my boar hair comb went, but I need to find it because this is getting unmanageable. Well, my brush, it's not a comb. I have a wooden comb for my beard too. I don't know where that is. I think I might have left it at my uncle's. So yeah. What else do we want to talk about? Like I said, there's a lot of breweries I'd love to try. I just don't know where they are anymore, or whether or not they're worth going to. And then the person that was keeping up the Ontario Brewery Delivery Index there, they seem to have given up as well, because there's a lot of breweries they don't have on there. Falcon Brewing Company is one I would like to go to. Manantler, I would love to visit Manantler. They're not all that new. They've been around for 5 or 6 years, but never did get out there. There's a huge list of breweries that there's too many breweries now. Like, there's no way my liver, my pocketbook, my heart, my waistline, there's no way any of that could keep up anymore with what's available. Even just doing samplers, there's no way. There's just too much out there now. Thank you again, Harry. So he did bring 2 or 3 beers I've reviewed before, so I'm perfectly good with that because I liked them, and they just add for these type of videos. But he also brought some non-alcoholic stuff that I didn't know existed. Do I have them over here? Or do I have them over there? No, I think they're over. Oh, wait, here. He was like, oh, I thought I grabbed the alcoholic version, but it wasn't. And it's like Griffintown, no alcohol. I've had Griffintown with alcohol. It wasn't a bad beer. I didn't know they made it as a non-alcoholic version. I'm kind of interested in seeing that. Our Compliments blonde, so the IGA branded non-alcoholic. I don't mind the PC one, at least the PC red. So I'm curious what that one's going to be like as well. I did see a comment go through, so let's see what's going on here. Manifest it. Your body can handle it. Jacinda, you're going to make me at me, and then she's going to get angry at you because you're telling me bad things, and I'll do them. So my one buddy Greg, and any of you that have watched a lot of like Beer Dweebs United and all that, you know Greg. He had bet me $200. Well, no, but no. So Greg was like, "Hey Chad, you know what you should do? You should set up a Tinder account, and you should just put pictures of yourself in your Santa suit and see if any girls, because I swear girls will swipe right. No girl will swipe right." And he's like, "Yeah." So I tell my wife about it. I'm like, just so you know, this is happening. This is being tested. She goes, okay. We're on almost a week. There's no right swipes. See, nobody wants a fat, giant bearded albino, Greg. I told you. And he's going on, no, no, there's all these freaks out there that want to sleep with Santa. You're going to get so many right swipes. It ain't happening, Greg. Yeah, man, it's going to happen. Trust me, trust me. I trusted you, Greg. It hurt my feelings, Greg. Do I know anything about Ramblin' Road? Sorry, guys. I was trying to read something that my wife just sent me, and I forgot what phone I was on. Ramblin' Road. Yes, I know things about Ramblin' Road. First and foremost, they are in LaSalle, Ontario, which is in the Simcoe area. They're on Swimming Pool Road, and there is a one-lane bridge on a two-lane road that goes to it, and it's owned by Picard Peanuts. The best part about going there is buying Picard Peanuts products. I like buying their brittle, their nuts, their chips. Their beers, meh at best. They're fairly lackluster nothingness beers, but they do the thing, right? Bad Santa. Yeah, nobody wants Santa. I've been saying this forever. She's always like, oh, all these. Even my wife, she's like, oh, all these women want you. I'm like, no woman wants me. I have bigger tits than most women I meet. Don't you worry, honey. I'm all yours. I was hot when I got you, and then you fed me so no woman would want me. And now, no one wants me, including my wife. Ugh. Picard's Peanuts does rock, yeah. You sent me the NFTAA paperwork there. The Nunavik traveler allowed to. You sent me that email. I was trying to read it, okay? You don't remember sending it to me? It just came. Did you send it like 7 hours ago when it just got here? It just got here. See, you're all the way up in Nunavik. I could never get to you right now. If I walked, it would take me the rest of my life to get there. And you're still on my ass. I love you. I love you so much that you don't even have my last name. And her whole excuse for that is in Quebec, it is forbidden. It is forbidden in Quebec for a woman to take on her husband's last name. She's like, well, see, I just knew we were coming to Quebec, so I just never did the paperwork. You knew shit. We didn't know we were taking this job when we got married. Okay, Alicia, give me 8 minutes to finish this beer, and we will have our private talk, if you know what I mean. Will I ever take magic mushrooms? I've actually talked about taking magic mushrooms. I don't have any magic mushrooms. I don't know where to get magic mushrooms. I don't know what magic mushrooms will do to me. I know that there's a lot of, there's a company that I can get golden teachers from, and blue meanies, I think. They both look like shriveled dicks. I don't know anything about them. I don't know how much is scary. I don't even like mushrooms, like regular mushrooms, so I'm afraid of eating them. But yeah, I would give them a shot. I mean, I'm willing to give most things a shot, except for hardcore illegal drugs. There's a lot of things I've given a shot to, and I just never touched again the rest of my life because it just wasn't my thing. But I've talked about it a few times. I have a lot of friends that grow them and say they really help them with mental health issues and stuff like that. And Knowing about my BPD and my depression and my anxiety, I'm willing to see what happens, but I don't have the money to do that normally, unless I'm growing my own. But I don't even know if you could grow your own in the Arctic. We're looking at Farnham Ales and Lagers number 12. This is the Hefeweizen. And I've had the Hefeweizen. This was dropped off by Harry, so thank you very much, Harry. But I've had the Hefeweizen. Actually, this was one of the beers that was picked up for me by Randy, and I don't talk about Randy much. Randy was the Cantankerous Cook's really good friend, and he was a friend of mine as well, and a lot of the crew was friends with Randy. Randy had an adverse feeling about doctors. He did not like doctors, and apparently he had a bleeding stomach ulcer for a very long time. And Randy ended up dying one night from that bleeding stomach ulcer that was apparently very, very fixable. But because of something that happened to his mother by a doctor, he refused to ever go to a doctor. I love that guy. He was great. He would give you the shirt off his back. He would do anything for you. He was a very, very caring guy. And I do miss him. And Harry brought this beer and it reminds me of him. So thank you. Every year he would go to the big rock concert in Quebec, and there was this one store that had hundreds of beers, and he would go in and he would pick me up a 24-pack of each every time of just random singles, and then he would bring them back to me, and I'd pay him for them. Mumbo number 5. I don't know what you're talking about, young lady. Are you saying you're waiting for me to get off the internet so I could call you too? Is that what you mean by saying? I'm only calling Alicia. I'm sorry. Excuse me. If that's the case, Alicia, if I have to go there to get tested again, I can't fly back until like the 1st of April then, because I can't leave here until the 30th, and then I have to wait 2 days to get my results. Maybe I'm staying away longer. Maybe I'm staying away longer. But in all honesty, we should be able to find out tomorrow anyway, because tomorrow is Monday. Public health should actually start trying to hunt me down tomorrow. Great thing about finding out your results on a Saturday. Public health is closed, so we've just gone into quarantine like we're supposed to. Excuse me, and been done with it. But if I really wanted to, I guess I could have tried to forge that paperwork and just been like, look, it's my negative test. Ho, 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 ho. But no, I wouldn't have done that. But we've heard nothing from public health yet because public health isn't open. So tomorrow they're going to start calling her cell phone. Well, her cell phone is up in the Arctic and there's no cell service up in the Arctic. So then they're going to have to try and get a hold of her at home, but she's going to be at work. And then they're going to try and get a hold of me because they're going to be looking for where I am. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. And like I said, we'll find out when public health gets a hold of me. I can't report to them first because I can't leave this place until the 30th. So if I'm reporting to them first, I can't fly till the 31st because of the times that these planes leave at. Are you messaging me privately now? Oh, okay. So you're You're complaining about our son now. I got it. Okay, I'm gonna. Somebody, I think it's just you and Jacinda. Jacinda, ask me another question. I gotta finish this beer, and then I'm gonna go offline to have some talks with my wife. So ask me a question. I have a few more minutes left. I just can't stand up because my pants are undone. If I stand up, my pants are falling off. I'm wearing underwear. I'm not going to tell you which. I probably am, but I don't remember. I don't remember because these are fleece-lined pants, so it's going to be warm regardless. Gotta go make sure that door's locked too, and put some garbage out in the hall for the cleaning lady. And so the people that have been knocking all day, there's been the cleaning ladies, and there's been a random guy knocking. I think somebody's giving him the wrong room number to come and have a quickie, because he's like knocking, looking around like this. And he knocks again, he looks around like this, and then I don't answer, so he leaves. I think he's looking for a JJ. I don't got a JJ for him. Excuse me. That tasted like quesada. Oh, another thing Harry did was send me a bunch of restaurants to try while I'm here. He's like, hey, you have 10 days, you're locked down. Here's some really good restaurants in your area. He goes, some of them are on Uber Eats, some of them are on Skip the Dishes, and some of them you have to call yourself. He goes, but they're all fairly reasonable priced, and they are great food. I'm like, thank you. I'm sitting here lost on Skip the Dishes looking at these restaurants going, I don't know if this is good. And Harry's not watching this far in, but again, thank you, Harry. Hefeweizen, 5.2% alcohol by volume. Ooh, I saw a comment. Bringing up to my horrible eye. Uber Eats are scammers. I agree. The price on Uber Eats is disgusting. And the price on Skip the Dishes is disgusting too, but that's because the restaurants have to artificially inflate their prices to make their money back because of the amount of money that Skip the Dishes takes. But that being said, a lot of restaurants don't deliver. And I get it, you don't want to deliver because then you have to have your own delivery guy, and there's insurance, and there's this, and there's that, and there's this, and there's that, and it's just easier letting somebody else deal with it. And this opens up a huge plethora of restaurants to deliver to you. But I'd rather be calling the restaurant itself. I'd rather be giving money to the restaurant itself. Two problems here. I'm blind and can't drive. Well, that's two problems on its own. And I'm under quarantine orders, so I can't leave anyway. I'm glad that when I did get COVID in January, I didn't lose my sense of taste, because I get that's me. I can taste. You go up and you just lick a girl, and you know if you want to stay with her or not. You're like, don't you taste gross? Bye. Next one, you don't taste gross. Maybe I can say. Then Alicia's in, and you're like, ooh. You're like 15 out of 10. I ain't going nowheres. As I have one more comment, I will deal with that, and then I'm off to bed with my wife, even though she lives in the Arctic right now. I like chicken. Do you really want me to sing that? I like chicken. I like liver. Meow mix, please deliver. By YouTube. Oh, excuse me. Meow mix just delivered to my mouth.